from the 30s, 40s.
They ever fixed a toaster?
Really?
Nope.
Okay.
It is 7 o'clock. Chairman Peterson was not available tonight, so I'm taking the chair. I'm Alex Catalan, I'm the vice chair of the city board. I officially call the meeting of June 2nd, 2022 to order. With that, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call attendance. Member Tyson.
Member Corcoran. Here. Member Kettle.
Here.
Member Landstrom.
Here.
Member Luthner.
Here.
Member Peterson is absent. Member Rayfield.
Here.
Member Tyson is here.
Good on the agenda. We need to approve the meeting agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And a second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion about the agenda? Hearing no discussion, we take a voice vote. All in favor of approving the meeting agenda for tonight, please say aye.
Aye.
The meeting agenda is approved. Scheduled and unscheduled visitors. Did
We had
any?
nobody.
We have nobody tonight. Okay.
Former member Moorhead did have some information on the Johnny Depp trial. And informed us of that. And so,
Don't know.
I'm sorry I missed it.
yeah, I'm sure she's available.
Oh, okay, good. I have no green cards tonight that I know of. Is there anybody that would like to submit one right now before we move on? Having no green cards, we'll move on with the agenda. Next up on the agenda is student achievement, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Pre-sale report, I'm sorry. Next on the agenda, it's not on my agenda. The next on the agenda is a pre-sale report for capital notes and facilities maintenance bond issue. Matt Hammer is here from Taylor's. I'll turn it over to Matt. Welcome.
Thank you very much. As Alex said, my name is Matt Hammer from Ellers. It's nice to see everybody again. We do put together a pre-sale report that outlines our assumptions going into a bond sale that we're looking to issue at the beginning of August. So it's going to be two purposes. Part of it's going to fund some LTFM projects that the district has, or deferred maintenance projects that will take place over the next 2 fiscal years. And then the other component is for some bus purchases, which is the capital notes component. And as we looked at the financing and the fact that the district was looking at doing some bus purchasing, combining the issuance is going to allow us to save on some cost of issuance. And then on the facility maintenance side, help with some levy stability that we've spent some time talking with the finance committee on. So overarching, we're looking at issuing a little bit more than $5 million in in bonds. About 840,000 of that, or 870, I think it's closer to 870,000 is going to be the capital notes for the buses. And the other, a little bit more than 4 million, 4.2 will be for funding some facilities maintenance bonds that will fund those deferred maintenance projects. I won't spend a lot of time on the details. There's a lot of information in here that you can feel free to ask any questions about it. There is a schedule in here. Like I said, we'll be looking to award at your August 4th meeting, and then the bond proceeds will be in hand and closed at the end of August, August 25th. And there is some schedules in here kind of outlining our assumptions going into the sale. The last page is probably the most important page, and just highlights that this is going to be without any tax impact to the Forest Lake area taxpayers. So we will keep this within the existing tax rate that the district has, and within the levy authority that you already have, that you've been utilizing as part of your facilities maintenance program. So with that, I can answer any questions folks have about the bond sale process. You will have a couple of resolutions in front of you tonight. One will be a reimbursement resolution that will allow you to reimburse yourself for the bus purchase, and then or any deferred maintenance projects for that matter that would have occurred. And then the other issue, or the other resolution, is an intent resolution that authorizes the sale of the facilities maintenance bonds and the capital notes.
Any questions?
I mean, it really seems like what we're able to do here is to bring in some money for maintenance projects, but we're really, the effect on the taxpayer is just the same as what it's always been.
Right, yeah, so there isn't going to be any new tax impact.
Right.
You have the existing levy authority that you've been using on an ongoing basis through your LTFM plan that has had some additional levy authority as of recent, especially now with becoming a 1A district. And as part of that, with all the metro districts that we're working with, we work on a combination of financing the projects through a combination of financing some of those. It allows you to move some of those projects up, create some efficiencies to take care of those projects, and avoid some of those other factors like construction inflation, and take care of those needs. But also then a big piece of it is creating stability with your overall capital levies, which is a really critical piece when you're talking to the public from the standpoint of creating some consistency of what they're seeing on their taxes.
Yeah, it sounds like good news.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, so we'll be back in August, and we'll have results then. We'll be taking competitive bids on the morning of August 4th. That's the plan. So, thank you.
See you August 4th. Next on the agenda, I will turn it over to Dr. Massey for student achievement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Molly Barnett has 4 of her students from our Link Crew, which is a really critical group as we help kids transition to and through the high school. So they're some of our key leaders at the high school. Take it away, Molly.
Thank you, Dr. Massey, and thank you, school board members and community, for having us here tonight. I'm just going to start off with a brief overview of Link, and then I'll be inviting the much better part of this presentation, the students themselves, so you can hear from them and hear their experiences. Link Crew has been at Forest Lake for quite a few years. I was fortunate enough to be able to participate in official Link training in February of 2020, right before COVID, through a generous TUFLA grant. So I feel very fortunate that I heard directly from Link and experienced the Link training, because it truly is something special. It's a program that is international. It is in most states in our country, and it is was created to really foster a welcoming experience that is supported through mentorship during the first year of a high schooler's transition to the high school. So our link leaders work really hard to help create a comfortable, welcoming environment for our ninth graders because we know that if they feel comfortable, they can do their best to succeed. We also know that when they have a positive experience that first year of high school, that they are going to be much more likely to succeed in the rest of their high school career. And you can see through this photo, a huge foundational element of LINK is to achieve that through having fun. Every activity that LINK has us doing is incredibly intentional. Every sentence that we use with our ninth graders, every action, there's intent behind it to foster that community, to strive towards academic achievement. Where should I point? Our link leaders are some great role models, not only for our ninth graders, but ultimately as leaders in our building in general. We talk a lot about working to develop a really positive Ranger climate, community, and culture. And they start out obviously by doing that with their ninth graders. So not only do they basically facilitate the entire orientation day for ninth graders when they're the only ones in the building, they are then visiting their Ranger Connect classrooms monthly to provide that continued mentorship. And we're very thoughtful about the times that they are visiting their Ranger Connect classrooms so they coincide with those times in the school year that a ninth grader would want to look to an upper class student to give some guidance, like during class registration is a great example. What kind of classes do you recommend I take? So part of developing our link leaders is that they go through some extensive training. And so you can see that we have all sorts of fun. We just had our May Play Day a couple of weeks ago where they get to experience the activities and games as a ninth grader. So we tell them this is not the time for them to have to learn anything. This is just to enjoy it and have the fun and joy of experiencing it. You can check out, oh, I think we have fun. Tim, do you mind just playing the short clip for us? I think it's just a few seconds long. Again, this is just one activity that learning teamwork, working with one another, taking cues from one another. But the whole time, they're just having an absolute blast. So, you can stop it. We know that fun element just breaks down the barriers for many of our ninth graders. Here are just some quick photos from orientation day. Before orientation day, our link leaders take part in 2 5-hour trainings that are conducted, and that's where they're really trained on the intentionality of activities, how to be successful facilitators of the activities, and how to deal with any behaviors that they might experience. So they learn a lot about yes and, which means how do you take a situation that's challenging and spin it into a positive. And so they're developing tremendous skills through that process. I just wanted to share, I just got a couple of brief quotes from our ninth graders. If you want to just take a moment to read them, this really illustrates that it is an impactful experience for our ninth graders. We often tell our link leaders that you may be getting blank stares in return. Sometimes you may not be getting the same energy that you are trying to share with your students, but it is lasting, and it does continue to plant a seed that grows in our ninth graders, and they continue to be appreciative of the impact their link leaders have had on their experience that first year. So, as I said, the much more interesting part, if you four wouldn't mind joining me. I'll take a seat. Andy, take it away. They're going to each introduce themselves and share a little bit about their experience as a link leader so far.
Hi, I'm Andy Witzel. I'm an 11th grader at the high school.
I'm Nini Mustafa. I'm also an 11th grader at the high school. I'm Mackenzie Warner. I'm also an 11th grader at the high school.
I'm Caitlin Ness, and I'm a senior. Okay, I guess I'll go first. So, like I mentioned, I'm a senior, so this is my second year doing LINK. And I got the joyous time to do LINK during COVID, which was really, really challenging. It was not fun at all. It wasn't anything like that you should base Link off of. You should not base it off of COVID year because I barely was even a Link leader. We were online, we were hybrid, we were in person, distance, it was a mess. And we would do Link like meetings over Google Meets or whatever. And it was so bad. There was no connections with any of the students. The students just seemed so disconnected. And they gave a lot of like blank stares. I didn't feel like what I was doing was important. And I could tell a lot of them were just kind of like pushing their screen up to the ceiling and just completely checked out. It was just really challenging. And then meetings like with the Link crew was also really hard because I didn't feel like I knew anyone that was like working alongside of me. I didn't feel like any of the activities that we were doing were really beneficial, and I just kind of felt like useless to them almost. And then fast forward to this year, which has been a complete 180. It was so good this year. Just a little backstory, orientation was rough. Your first day with the 9th graders are really challenging. They look at you and they give you like the desk stare. It's like really bad and super painful. But compared to like orientation the first day that we met them and then to where we were just a couple of weeks ago when we met with them, it's so different. They are so much more open with you. I can really tell where people's personalities are coming from. They connect with you, and it's just such a great program, and I feel like really important in their lives because you can tell when you make it through the end of the year, they're excited to see you when you come in the door. And yeah, really good connections, and the meetings that we would have every once in a while on Monday mornings, like with the Link other crew, you just felt like such more of a team compared to last year. I really got to know all the people in the Link crew, and we just kind of felt like a family, which is really sappy, but it's true. And doing all the orientation activities, you get to really just be silly and just let yourself just have so much fun. And you look ridiculous in front of your 9th graders, but once you see them smile and do the activities with you, it really just makes it all worth it. So it was really successful this year. Thanks.
So I don't know if I can follow that up, but this is my first year on Link. I did not go into high school with much guidance. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't really have many friends. And my Link leaders really helped me kind of get in the right path of finding what classes I enjoyed and sticking to them and going and making a positive high school first year, which I do not think I would have done otherwise. But it's very interesting for me to see that same impact that I'm having on my 9th graders, as some of them, they really do not know what they're doing. Like, they do not know where they want to go in life, don't know if they want to do college or tech school or whatever. And being able to see them growing from not knowing anything and just kind of being a middle schooler and growing into a high schooler and having actual like dreams and goals, it's very, very rewarding to see the effort coming in and the effort going out. So.
One personal experience I have as a Link leader is at first I didn't feel like it really mattered to my 9th graders that I was there, and I just felt like they just felt like they had to be there and they didn't really have a choice. And then one situation that really showed me that Link really does matter and have an impact was, I just remember one day I was walking in the hallway and one of my 9th graders came up to me and she almost was like panicked and like was really anxious. She had no idea what she was doing. It was the first day that like everyone was there, everyone was in the whole school, and they were just she was really freaked out. She's like, I just know you're my Link leader and I don't know where to go, and everyone's like stressing me out. And she was really freaked out. It really was like heartwarming to know that she could come to me when she needed help. And I helped walk her to class, and I helped her like know her way around the school a little more, like one-on-one. And I just really showed that we like do matter and it does cause an impact.
One of my personal experiences is one of my 9th graders about halfway through the year got in trouble with school and are not able to return this year. So about halfway through, they added me on Snapchat, and I was really confused because I didn't know who it was. So I added them back, and they had told me, you're my Link leader. Can I talk to you about something? And of course I said yes because of the connection that we had. So he had told me when it happened, and he said he was really struggling in life and in school and just needed someone to talk to about it. And he trusted me enough, even though In my group, we have 4 link leaders with us, and we do have a male link leader, but he trusted me enough to reach out to me. And then another thing is, if we had gotten to pick our link leaders this year for our groups, I never would have picked the people that I'm with right now. So I think it's good to make good connections with other students as well.
Any questions for our link leaders?
Yeah, I don't have a question, but your story that you told about the year, the COVID year, it struck a chord because a lot of us struggled with the same things with work and our social lives. And I just want to tell you how important that work is, because I think students coming in this year from the years of struggling through COVID, it was hard. It's been hard for us as adults with work and life in general, but for a lot of those kids coming in this year, it was especially hard. And just a huge struggle. So I just want to say thank you for being there for them, helping them through that especially hard time of making the transition, not from the junior high, but from the junior high in COVID, separated, like you say, screen up at the, many kids disconnected, that year that many of us figured out how to resolve a lot of personal interactions that 8th grade, they didn't have that opportunity and you helped them through it. So I just wanted to say thank you. It's so important, but it was so important this year. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, your stories were so heartwarming. I was just could tear up. So thank you for putting yourself out there as a mentor. It's not always easy, but the flip side of that is what a positive growth experience for all of you. And do you see yourselves doing more mentoring, like in your professional life or to friends, and will that kind of continue in that role in some fashion as you grow into your career, or?
I would, yeah.
I would hope so, but I'm planning on going into like the trades type, excavation type work. So it's going to be a little while before I'm helping anyone with stuff as far as teaching them anything. I'll probably be getting a lot of help for the first couple of years there. So, but at some point.
You'll probably have a mentor.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your stories and thanks for all your work with the Link Group. And we certainly, from the bottom of our hearts, appreciate all you went through during COVID and the pandemic as well. So, thank you.
Thank you. Third thanks in a row. I have an incoming 9th grader next year, so this is sort of my behind the scenes look. I get to know what's going on. So I'm really pleased that her class and all the classes ahead of her have had the opportunity to have mentors within the school. And thank you for taking on the challenge, because it's extra. It's more than what's asked for you. And there's a lot of people who don't think kids can do it. And I think endlessly we're surprised by how much maturity and capacity most people can find within themselves. And I don't know if COVID hurt it or helped it or just made it come to the surface, but the 4 of you, and I know, how many other link leaders are there? Must be 20-ish. Yes.
Next year we have 103 link leaders.
So 103 people are taking time to work for the greater good, to make an impact on somebody else's world, to show what they know, to say, okay, I'm good enough to teach someone else, and to really just put themselves in a position of vulnerability, because it's hard when you get those blank stares. And you have to take that next step to be like, I'm going to be the adult in the room. And it's just going to do great things for you moving forwards and really great things behind you. And you might not even know until long past how many lives you've impacted. So thanks again. And those are fantastic stories. Those are like newsworthy. Write them down so you don't forget.
No, I was just going to say that they sought you out as a leader when they have questions, and that's really powerful. And because sometimes it's very intimidating to go to staff and to older, to have that connection with the same, not the same grade, but someone young like themselves is huge. And that was wonderful. And I just appreciate I mean, it is an extra thing to do. And life gets busy, and especially being a student, there are different activities and things, and it will help you grow in your professional life too as you get older. And that's something you can draw on, and those relationships that you built, they might grow someday too. You might see them in the workplace or in town or things like that. So, but thank you for your extra time and effort, and really well deserved. And thank you for showing up to me and telling us these great stories. We really appreciate it.
Just another huge thank you. You've shown that this is a very valuable program in this day and age to just welcome everybody into high school. It's really hard for a lot of people. It's a big transition. Molly, I'm wondering, do most kids, if they're Link Leader in the 11th grade, do they continue as a senior?
Yeah, many do. I don't remember the exact number. We added some for next year, but many do. I will admit, though, we certainly have those who don't, because as they mentioned, it really pushes them outside of their comfort zone to deal with those situations where you are getting that blank stare. So we spend a lot of time training on that. But you all know people who are repeat leaders.
Oh, for sure.
Especially after the COVID year, I know a lot of people in my grade, they did not want to do it again because they didn't get the actual opportunity that is Link. Like Link just was not it. Not like last year, so they didn't know what to expect this year, so they just said they weren't going to do it.
So a lot of that happened, but yeah, definitely. Lots of applicants, though. I think it's really meaningful and special when the applicants talk about the reason why they want to be a Link Leader is how impactful a Link Leader was in their life as a 9th grader, and they want to do the same for others. So it's neat to read those applications. I always say we have like an extra 100 bright lights roaming around the school because we talk a lot about stepping in and standing up, and whenever you're in a situation where you see a need, identifying a need and stepping up, rising to the occasion. And so they're not just helping in that 9th grade setting, they're truly helping our entire building in a great way.
Just add a couple of comments. We can finish this. The number one is something I remember Rayfield's comments. I felt like when you were talking, I felt like I was a parent. I mean, the way you felt with everything you had encountered, it seemed to me that it was, I could see my kids and my grandkids and everything you said. I mean, how you felt them, how you felt all of that. But more importantly, I've studied leadership for a long time. I have a master's in art of leadership, and I commend you for everything you do. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. Everything that I know about leadership, you're just capturing and taking it really well. So thank you very much for everything you do.
How about a quick moment? The school board a number of years ago approved a calendar change where 9th graders start without the other kids in the room for Link and those activities. Give us a quick highlight of what that day was.
Yeah, so I'll just start by saying the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive of how good of an experience that is just to start the school year without everybody else in the building. But that day, they just got to experience it really for the first time this year. So they all go into the field house, and then it's much more interesting. Why don't you share what happens next? They all are sent to the field house, all the 9th graders, they're all dazed.
Yeah. It's a lot. I feel like it's like the most chaotic thing I've ever experienced.
Intentionally.
But like they walk in and we have all the tables, we can all just see them walking in. Was it after the pancake breakfast? And they're all like wandering, and I'm like, come over to me, like come over to me, and you're just trying to like be so silly and like welcoming, but like it's truly an interesting experience.
Yeah, I mean, they walk into the field house through a gauntlet of every staff member. So every staff member is cheering them and welcoming them with like huge enthusiasm. So the gauntlet goes almost halfway through that space, or the gym, excuse me. And then they're fed into the bleachers where one Miss Wonderful Lexi Ann Fang, one of our language arts teachers, leads them through a whole slurry of activities and silliness in the bleachers. And they're just like, what's going on? But again, all very intentional. And then they come onto the floor and do activities. And then they eventually break out to their individual Link Leaders in small groups and are led to their space. Do one of you want to talk about what happens at that point when you're facilitating the activities?
So, after the big pep rally, that's what I would call it, we branched out, we went into our actual like Link craft classes, which they are in their same link, their Ranger Connect is what we call them. They're in their same Ranger Connect from 9th grade all the way to a senior. So they only have the link leaders for the first 9th grade, or for the first year, but after that, they still have that community that they built in 9th grade together, always a support group there. And after we kind of like find the homeroom and then we answer a couple questions, we walk around and we basically give them a tour, any questions, so they know exactly where they're going on the first day. They don't have any like questions really. So it's just a very stress-free actual first day of school.
And we do a lot of like team building activities. Like usually, I think you split the Ranger Connect into like smaller portions. And there's games. I know that one game we were all like sitting in a circle, like drawing or something, and just a lot of little activities throughout the whole day. It's just a day full of games.
They follow their schedule, don't they? And they meet their teachers that day as well.
Yeah.
Yep, in the afternoon, after they've had lunch, then they get to visit each room, and then we come back together in the gym for a send-off Tech Fest again. So it's just all very positive, fun, community building experience with a little bit of kiddie.
Excuse me, I have one quick question for you. Who facilitates the link training? Is that staff?
Yep, so I do along with, I have two co-advisors, Brittany Miller, who is Rodewald, you maybe know her as, and then Lexi Ann Fang. So
the three of you do
Yep.
all that training too.
Yep.
How they do?
Yep.
Great.
They really make you come out of your shell at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Yes,
The first day.
Yes, they are hit with all sorts of enthusiasm.
It definitely teaches you to lean into the fun and silliness,
Yeah.
which I definitely have had problems with, but it
But you
happens.
come around.
Yeah.
And
Well,
now
thanks
you've gone
for-
through extensive training.
Yeah, so that was that link training so I'm only one of the three that had been able to experience that. And it really, that was 5 intensive days, they're 12-hour days, and yeah, you don't use, if you were hit by something crazy, it's like, so, but it's good, it's really good, because there is so much intentionality behind it, so, yeah.
We don't want to get too much into it, but at the middle school, they've got web, which is the counterpart to link. They're running the same thing on the same day with 7th graders, while 8th graders start the day after.
Exactly.
Similar experience, similar training.
Yep.
Any of you guys web leaders at the middle school?
I would say Link is a lot more fun because they've had those middle school milestones, so they know, oh, you're an upperclassman, you have authority almost over me. And then they also have those milestones of, oh, this teacher I need to have respect for. But this year is a little harder because they never had those 7th grade and 8th grade milestones because of COVID. So they had to learn from upperclassmen such as us who are link leaders not to do that anymore, I guess.
We've talked a lot about in our training how we're welcoming students who haven't had a normal year since 6th grade. So we did not want to demean or belittle in any way, but we needed to understand that they were coming in with maybe more of an elementary mindset and behavior skill set, and work with that from there as we kind of brought them along and welcomed them into our high school community.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry to take so much time, but thank you.
I need to say one thing. I don't know if this is not regarding this presentation, but Molly, are you going to leave?
I can stick around.
Just for
I told them
no,
that.
you don't have to stick around, but I do want to recognize Molly before she leaves. 'Cause I've done this before, and unfortunately, the person has already left the room. Molly, I had the opportunity, which I'll cover in a few minutes, but I had the opportunity to participate in career exploration in high school. And I just want to recognize Molly for all the work that she put in and other people who helped her do it. But it was a great experience once again. The second time I've done it. And so Molly, really a nice job on that.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
And I'm very appreciative that you're willing to join us and share your knowledge.
Next up on the agenda, we have a report on community education athletics update. So I'd like to introduce Director McKinnon and Kylie Young.
I think Molly ran out, but we have the right there.
see it. I guess you went to school with her.
Thank you, Dr. Massey, Vice Chair Kettle, members of the school board. It's an honor to be here tonight as we continue to celebrate the value of community education in our activity in our community, and how our school system is far above and beyond the K-12 academic experience. And certainly, you know, we in Community Ed know and feel that support from the school board. We thank you for that, and tonight we're here to celebrate that and give a report on that. So before we dive in, this is just kind of a table of contents, if you will, of all of our programs. And tonight we're going to be hanging out in the athletics area. We've given reports on each of these areas, or a number of these areas, in years past. And tonight we're going to be going into athletics. Before we do that, I just want to walk back because this information I think is very important when we go into our reports. When we talk about, highlight, and celebrate what's going on in community education. When I first arrived here, we took our team through the experience of developing, with the work of our advisory council, our purpose statements and our value statements in community ed. What is it that's important to us, and why do we do what we do? And so, you know, you can see here tonight, I mean, all of these areas, I hope that you see and feel these as we get the update with athletics. We want these felt and lived to be lived experiences by all of our participants. We'll mostly be hanging out in the innovative, here's a key one, cost-effective, engaging lifelong educational, social, and recreational opportunities, and maximizing the use of school resources, buildings, and facilities while promoting partnerships and community involvement. Like I said, all of those are there. And as we look at more the values, these are really important in community ed, especially I think in the world of athletics, because we know that athletics are deeply, deeply rooted and valued in all of society. There are things that won't make the front page of anything, but yet you get the sports in there, and everybody's talking about what's going on in the sports world. And we honor that. We know that that's a part of an experience for many kids all the way through to adulthood as we think about our adult athletic programs. So as we look at these, you know, like I said, these are critical to the work that we do in all of community ed, and especially in athletics. So to take you back, when I was hired in 2016, it feels like just yesterday, here we are. I remember it was just at the time when the transition was made to shift middle school athletics. And fortunately or unfortunately, I didn't have to be a part of some of those experiences. But know that when I was hired and met with Dr. Madsen, there was a need and an expectation that we carry on that work that was once in the activities department into community ed. And my background was hopefully to facilitate that process. And I remember telling her at the time, it's my goal that this is the last time that you're meeting on this at a board meeting, and that we can pick the torch up, run with it, and that when kids come in, they're going to have, they aren't going to know any different, just a different sign-up page, but we'll take that work on and do the very best we can with that. So we're very, very fortunate to have Kyle Young as our athletics coordinator. A lot of you folks maybe have interacted with Kyle. I know many of our community members have. I remember when I first met Kyle, he was working in community ed here as a youth and adult programs planner under Lori Drolson. He took a brief vacation away from us, only to realize that community ed is where it's at, and came back as our athletics coordinator. And I remember at the time, Lori had said, this is like Kyle's job. And so upon hiring him and seeing the work that he's done since he started in this role in 2019, he has taken this torch and run with it and just done amazing things in carrying all of those core values. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kyle, who's going to continue the presentation here on athletics.
You didn't want to highlight that was one of yours?
I didn't.
Thanks for having us today. As Corey mentioned, the middle school athletics was kind of a shift when he first started. That kind of fits that we start with our athletics highlight for middle school sports. We do fall, winter, spring. The fall we do both boys and girls soccer. Winter we do a split season of girls basketball in October through December, and then go to January through February for boys. And then in the spring we do track and field for, again, both boys and girls. Those middle school sports, we do have recruited and paid coaching staff similar to what you'd see at the high school. So as Corey mentioned, we really do want this to feel like a high school sports program. Obviously, there are some differences. It's not necessarily based around winning and losing. High school sports by no means is not either, but it obviously is important to a lot more people than is the middle school level for us. But we do split, if we have enough kids, we split into a higher and a lower level of skill competition. So a lot of, any students can really come out from middle school sports and find a place for themselves. Teams practice Monday through Thursday after school. They play a conference league schedule similar to the high school. We are part of a similar to Suburban East Conference middle school league. So students actually they jump on a bus, all goes as planned, go to away locations to play, and then we have those same teams coming to Forest Lake to play games. Fall 2021 through May of 2022, we had 148 enrollments in our middle school programs, which it's on the up and up. We think that's great numbers for middle school sports. Again, these are kids that have a background extensively in sports or are brand new to the sport. We do see that wide variety. So we are very happy with those numbers, and we're hoping to grow from there. Moving on, here we have a couple pictures of some programs. As Corey mentioned, we hope you kind of see the fun that kids have. We have some diverse pictures from hockey, middle school track, all the way down to, I believe that's a 3-4-year-old soccer player that we had a little kickers program just get started off here a couple Saturdays ago. So just a few program highlights. You'll see some pictures here as we move forward too. But yeah, like I said, from middle school sports all the way down to our 3-year-olds that are just starting with us. For elementary athletics, we run off our 4 seasons. In the fall, we see flag football, volleyball, and I just have a misprint there. It's supposed to be fall soccer. And then winter, we go to basketball. We have skating lessons, and we included an ice skating show for the first time. We did have it planned for 2020, but obviously we had that get canceled on us. So this year, we actually got to run our first big show that I was a part of, and it was a lot of fun. We had about 50 skaters. They had all the lights shut down. They had some spotlights, music. It was a really cool deal over at our arena. And then we have our intro to hockey and hockey lessons that carry out. In the spring, coming to the nicer weather here, we have the baseball, and I can see my little area there with spring soccer supposed to be there. And then summer, we have our actual soccer league. The fall of 21 through May of 22, we had over 2,600 enrollments in all of our programs that serve youth athletics. So great numbers there. We have a lot of kids that do multiple programs, which is awesome to see. They're trying different sports, and they're, like I said, they're out there participating with us, so it's really exciting. Got some more pictures here. The bottom left and the upper right are from the show. The bottom left was just kind of their outfits getting ready for the show, and the upper right was kind of, it gives you an idea of the setting that they're in. So again, spotlight, it's just like what you'd expect a figure skating show to consist of. Pretty fun. And then lastly, we have our camps and clinics that we mainly run in partnership with our high school sports. We almost cover all of them, where we're still working with other high school coaches trying to add some camps to that. And we're really fortunate to have Mike Kennan at the lead of our athletics program, because he really does push the partnership with us and the high school coaches. So a lot of fun all summer long. We'll be having girls and boys basketball camps, boys and girls tennis, pole vaulting camps. Pretty much, if you can think of it, we have it offered with a partnership for our high school program. So a lot of fun there too. So again, just another couple pictures, highlight of our middle school track meet that they got to go to Stillwater. We have so many kids, we got to get a coach bus because they wouldn't have been able to fit on just our typical school bus. So that was a cool experience for them too. I think I'll wrap up with that.
So you'll notice here, I'm going to bring us back to a couple of pictures. These are the jerseys that it has been laced throughout all of our programs. You'll notice that red one there. Kyle has bought out every maroon and gold jersey you can find. So we had to shift to some other colored teams. We know that our core colors are maroon and gold. It's like you see here, but when the enrollments are as high as they are, which is a great problem to have, then we have to adjust as we have. So that's why we've got some of those other colors on there as well. And again, it comes down to, Kyle and I have had many of these conversations as we think through problem solve with pre-pandemic, pandemic, post-pandemic, with all the programs that we're running is, what is it that we are really about? We're about these experiences and kids getting a chance to try things and go from sport to sport, or stay locked into this is where I'm at and start to foster that love and passion and talent. Kyle's actually very lucky because I came here tonight from my son's 4th grade community ed baseball game, and it's so nice out, I thought maybe he could just take the reins tonight, but I came here and helped him out with this presentation. And when you see the quality, I mean, to me, that's another big part of it too, is that we never want people's takeaway to be, well, it's just community ed. Like, it's not traveling. We know we're not traveling. We don't want to be traveling. We, in fact, want to be kind of that springboard into those programs for kids who want to take that pathway forward, at the same time, get a quality experience. And we can't do this without these partnerships, without our high school coaches, without our community members volunteering. We get all these volunteer coaches. I mean, we get a lot of them who raise their hand because we have so many teams and we don't want to turn anybody away, and we won't. It's the, okay, I've never even coached and picked up this back before, but I'm in. And some of those coaches have come back and we've gotten feedback saying some of those are our best coaches because they're just so passionate about kids, which is where it all starts. So here's just a few comments and feedback from the community as we wrap up here tonight. These are broad-based, parents who just had a blast in our programs and can't wait to start the new things. I love the one where they basically says, with regard to making the memories and look at all these kids that the programs they've been in, skating, swimming, soccer, it just keeps on and on and on. I might be a super user. We love our super users of community education, no doubt, as they go through here and have those experiences. These are our 3 catalogs that we put out this last year. Love the one that we've got right now that's on, hopefully on the countertops of all of our families. You got that little cutie there in the tennis, and in that upper right corner, I don't know if you can read, it says it all starts in community ed. When we go to our, we just hosted a section track meeting, our first track meet. So you think many of those kids, their first experience was through our program. And they got a chance to again, maybe light a spark in the fire that's always inside. And if it's not there, then they go on and they get a chance to try something else and keep building upon those passions. So one other element, it's a long way off, but I only get to do this once a year. So we have our National Community Ed Day, the 2nd Thursday in November. Last year we went out, part of it is celebrating community ed, but we see it as celebrating all that it takes to make community ed, and we can't do that without our partnerships. One of the core values that we have is responsibly maximize the use of school resources. Well, that means we're using our teachers' gyms and our teachers' classrooms and our fields, and we can't do that without our amazing custodians, without our FIDA teachers partnerships or the activities department. I mean, we want folks in our community to know that we are unified and we truly are. I feel like I've got the best job in the world in being able to work in all of these different arenas. So we went to each of our schools last year and developed a little celebration candy basket, and like I said, we can't do that without that. So with that, that's a lot in a short amount of time. Questions, comments with community ed athletics?
Well, I mean, the growth just means that the kids are having such a positive experience. So kudos to you, Kyle, and I have a good friend that's a single mom, and her daughter started this past fall in community ed, and it was so cute on Instagram. First it's a picture with her in the volleyball, and then it's her with the basketball and down the road. So great positivity with that, and can't appreciate how you work enough in that area, because wow, we have a big school district and a lot of areas to cover, so good job. And I'm bummed I missed that skating show. People they must have been fired up about that.
Yeah, we have a little bit more of know what to expect, so we'll definitely be pushing it out next year. So.
Wow, that is awesome.
One of my most recent highlights, I was at my 5th graders community ed baseball game last week, and I found myself not paying attention to his game because there was a little 4-year-old game going on. We had one of our volunteer coaches, bless her heart, she set every kid up in the field where they belong, and she worked so hard to get them out there. And one of the girls came up and she knocked one right into the right field, and all 9 girls ran after the ball. I got that one in the video up here.
And I think I've said in the past that Kyle is magical, like teleportation. He's in 3 places at the same time, it feels like, so, because I've been in 2 places. How are you here also? So it's, I've had kids go through the program. My oldest was when we transitioned, so I have no knowledge of the old system, I've only known this new system, and it's been very seamless. So the ability for them to just stay at school and do an activity has been really great. And I know that more kids have done it because it's just right there and they'll try things that they've never tried. And pole vaulting. I ended up hearing about it through our bus breakfast because one of the bus drivers is the coach. And it came up, somebody was looking for a pole vaulting class and they live in Wisconsin. I'm like, oh, we have one. Like, check your community. And he's like, I have. So I think he's coming to ours now. So the offerings are really wide. There's really something for everybody. And I know that you say, like, you don't want people to say, oh, it's just community ed, but I kind of like the low pressure. That it's, if you don't want to go, it's community ed, it's okay. So, or, you know, you're on a team, you got to keep trying this thing. And they're short enough that nobody gets burned out. They're not 25-week seasons, they're 8-week seasons. So I appreciate the thought that's gone into the timing on that. And plus, it's quite affordable. So most people can say, like, oh, I can do that and see if you really like hockey before we mortgage ourselves on hockey. So it's a great gateway to sports. Or like you said, if this isn't for you, you didn't really risk much, 6-8 weeks, and you tried it and you had the memories, but you don't need to keep going. So I brag about our program, and anytime people say, oh, you're from Forest Lake, your community ed is the best. So you're widely known.
Kyle's done a great job. We're encouraging that growth. That's part of our core values too in all of our programs, and we've seen it in his program since he's come on and taking. I mean, our leagues are growing. We're trying out different opportunities, and because of that, that means the workload comes on. So we're actually this year we're able to hire a new support person with Kyle, our community athletics planner. So we've got Kaylee Santerre, who's new with us and just doing a great job and able to keep things moving forward while Kyle continues to push the envelope on growth and improving opportunities.
I was just going to say, I was on the board when we had the junior high change of athletics, and that was not a fun time to have the board. It was a very stressful, terrible time. And you guys did it with such grace. I mean, you guys really took those parent meetings, and you took a lot of it. It was not fun, but we muddled through as best we could, and you guys have done a great job. And I'm very thankful that we got to still offer athletics for those kids that wanted the athletics. And I just know that having those choices as a young child, fostering that love of sports. I mean, because you don't know until you know. You don't know if you love baseball or basketball or anything until you try it. And having it be, like you say, it's not the pressure, giving everyone a chance to play, even playing time, and fostering that love, that's a lifelong thing that they can do. And as a very much of a sports mom, I did really appreciate that when my kids were little. So, and as they grew up. So thank you for all your hard work, and it's just been a great program for all of our communities. So thank you.
Yeah, I remember when that happened, talking to the superintendent and hearing that, no, it's gonna be fine. Community ed can take care of this, right? And they can do a good job with it, then boy, was it true. You know, and because we were all nervous, right? You know, because we're hearing a lot, you know, it was a big change, it was a time of risk. And the mantra was community ed can do this, and they did. And, you know, I mean, one thing I would just say is that sometimes when people are really good at what they do, it can almost feel ordinary to have high performance. And, you know, it's nice to see something like this to just remind yourself that no, this work that's being done is incredible. It's amazing what happens in this district. It's amazing what you guys do, and I hope, you know, I'm glad you guys came tonight because it reminds you that incredible is ordinary for us, you know.
Very good.
I'm gonna make that into a community ed t-shirt.
T-shirt on the next book.
Keep up the great work. I do have one tiny suggestion. Boys lacrosse starting in 3rd grade.
Starting younger.
You gonna coach?
Probably not.
You did it great.
That's how we get them to. So I'm really good at it.
I was going to say, getting those parent coaches coaches that, like they say, don't even know the sport, but they have the ability and the desire. Those are the best coaches.
And some of them stay with us and they become mentor coaches down the road.
Yes, it's really important, yeah.
Well, we can't do it without the support of all of our buildings and without our school board, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
We'll move on to positive happenings. Anybody like to report anything? Member Lenz?
Well, many of us here went, actually, Rob didn't make it, you were at work, I think. We did a fabulous bus breakfast at the bus garage. Very fun just to interact with them, have some goodies out for them, and I think they really appreciated it. So that was a great hit. Then we went to the Egg Day at the high school. That was also very impressive. The plants I got, oh my gosh, they were like this big around. And then I also did the art show at Hallberg. Again, wow, we have very talented kids. The artwork, the pottery, the paintings, the drawings were incredible. Some girl was bragging about that she had a whole set of pottery dishes ready for her to go into adulthood. And I thought, do we have pottery wheels at the high school? She goes, we have 3 of them, you know? And so she's making a set of her own dishes. It was very impressive.
One thing I was going to say, something kind of positive. I went to Alex and I went to the community advisory council meeting the other night, and I got there early, and I cajoled Tracy to give me a tour of the facilities there, right? And yeah, and it's been a little bit since I've gotten a full tour of it. It's just, God, what a great facility that. You know, that school that was a little bit older, it's just alive. I mean, I had her show me the pool pumping and filtering system, right? And, which I find really interesting, right? But then she's like, oh, look at the, open the door to the pool, and just the sound of the people and the kids and the parents coming through that door and seeing that, that facility just alive with activity, it was just great. It was just great. And seeing how that facility, we were able to take that bond money and turn that older school into just these different areas of community interaction just was fantastic. I just went away from it just energized. So.
Member Landstrom and I went to the SEAC meeting together, and they were doing their calendar for the year, and it was just such a warm, supportive group. Very impressed with how they're very connected. The one interesting thing they're planning is they want to do a special ed 101 in the fall, and they're inviting Pacer to come. So that was a great meeting, being with that group that night. I also went to the AAPI event at the high school, hosted by our Hmong Asian Cultural Club. And I tell you, that was such a beautiful event. The singing, the dancing, the costumes, the Minnesota Sunshine performed, and their dance was just this intricate, beautiful dance. But it was really fun to see how proud our club is, our Hmong club is, in their heritage and their culture, explaining it. There was a whole introduction to instruments that they danced to as well. And so it was just really fun night. It was really great to see the auditorium was full, lots of families, and it was just a really fun night, great experience. Last thing, I'm sure our superintendent has it in his report, but I get the Forest Lake Times, and I just think it's such an excellent paper. They've worked hard at redoing it, how it reads like a regular magazine now, but then this article was in it with our own Kenny Newby, our principal at Forest Lake Elementary, and he's won some award to represent Minnesota in the National Association. And it's MESPA, but this is NAE.
National branch of the Minnesota Association of Elementary Persons.
Yeah, so kudos to him. I'm just so proud, and he deserves that. And he's He's already been here 6 years, so congratulations, Mr. Newby. Excellent. That is very important.
Thank you.
Well, I was gonna say, well, I went to the track meet, but that, you missed it last week, but track meet was wonderful, a well-attended, beautiful night, and just an honorable, and we won that track meet. The first track meet, so that was at our home turf, I love it. And I was just gonna talk about the bus drivers too, because that was really fun. I got to see a lot of people I forgot that worked there. I mean, I hadn't been there for so long, and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh, you work here? I mean, it was great, and just to hear their stories and kind of, you know, they really opened up and they talked really openly about some things, and they were there a couple hours. It was a really great event, and I think they really did appreciate it, feeling appreciated and being heard. So it was good.
Yep. I went to, this is sort of in reverse order, but I went to the 6th grade track and field day that was at the Great Big New Field, and it was every 6th grader from all the buildings together, and they competed, and it was a really fun event. It was a beautiful day. They got the perfect weather day last week, and that was a really fun thing to see our kids getting to meet each other on the field, and they'll all be classmates together next year. I also went to the 8th grade band, and now Jeff's not here to steal his thunder because his band was there also, but I always like going before him for that. They had snow cones this year, so it was supposed to be an outdoor event where it was kind of a concert in the park and they were going to play for us and we'd wander around, but it was raining a lot, so we ran out to get snow cones and we sat in the normal area, and they had a fantastic concert, and I'm constantly impressed that it's not just a band where they learn songs and then they play the songs and then we clap because we're their parents and we go home. They have impressive repertoire. They're playing new and different music, and then they had a section where they asked kids that wanted to freestyle. So it was part of the curriculum that they had to freestyle. So this was unplanned, other than they knew who would do it, but they had just 30, 45 seconds where they did what they wanted to do on their instrument. We had 2 tuba solos. So, but it was the confidence that they got to just stand up and do that in front of their classmates and all the parents, and it was a really, really great all-together event. So the bus driver event, which I also attended, and it was great, same thing that you've all said, that I'm glad we're able to do kind of a little something that hopefully lets the bus drivers know how much we truly value them, so they stay, bring friends, and drive buses. And then we went to Ag Day, which is always a favorite of mine. Then we did the community ed track and field. I spend a lot of time at this track and field these days. And that was fun also, seeing all the little kids and all their little events do it up. Then the synchro regionals, our club won. Don't ask how many clubs were in the competition, but we won. And then for our high school, I wasn't there, but the high school team came in third, I think in the state. Was it the state? Yes. Okay, so they have a beautiful routine that I've seen them in practice, because they practice this just before the little kids come in and do theirs. And then we tracked me from before, so it's been a really busy month, and it's great being able to have outside activities again and being back in the schools and really being able to see the community at large finally again. So that concludes the report.
Thank you. For me, I had, as I mentioned, when Molly was here, I had the opportunity for the second time to attend Forest Lake High School Career Exploration Day, which was just outstanding. I don't know how many people showed up, but I mean, we had the media center almost full of business leaders who came from every kind of occupation you can imagine. I mean, there was a pilot I saw with a uniform on, there were soldiers, there was a policeman with a dog, one of the dog police. I mean, it was unbelievable. And there were nurses. They filled, I think, almost the auditorium to talk about a career in nursing, as I understood. I think that had the most, probably at least 40-some people or something attended that session. So that was outstanding. For me personally, the first time I did my own occupation that I retired from. And this time I said I can do that again, or I can do something different, because I do some coaching and things on the side. I said I can do a session for those people that can't decide what they want to do. And I did a session called Passion in Your Career and Your Job. I mean, using what you're really passionate about so that you're more satisfied with the work that you do. And I had 14 students sign up. We had a really great discussion about, I'm not sure what I want to do. I want to do some art, but I also like forensics, and I don't know what to do with that. So we talked about ways they might be valuable. So that was really fun. I'd invite anybody in the room to go to that and just talk about your career, because the kids will come. I mean, they love it. The other thing I did was attended, which I don't think has been mentioned yet, but I attended the, as many of us did, the retirement party in the media center.
Oh, yeah.
I counted the number on the sheet. All of them weren't present, but 40 employees of the district were recognized on that day. So that was a really great event. It was outstanding. And I congratulate and wish all of them the best who are retiring from the district this year. Last, I'll just talk a little bit about TEFLA. As you probably know, I'm a board member now of TEFLA. And the Growing TEFLA at Waldog Farms event will be held on Thursday, September 8th. I think I've mentioned that before, but if you want to write it on your calendar. Also, I'm a member of the grants committee on the TEFLA committee and our board. And they're now accepting funded grant requests through 4 p.m. June 15th. So if anybody out there has a request for a funded grant, certainly get it in. It's on a Google form application. And last of all, we reviewed the thank you sponsorship video, which was developed, and Dr. Massey was instrumental in that. And it's a great piece, and we approved it at the last board meeting. So that will be going out to show the sponsors how much we appreciate the support for TEFLA. So, and that concludes my report. Moving on to the agenda, we have reports. Are there any workshops or conferences anybody would like to talk about? Seeing none, we'll move on. 916, Member Kettle. Thank you, Chairman Kettle. Good, it's a little scary to think. Anyway, the board met in person on Wednesday, June 1st, yesterday at the district office in White Bear Lake. Highlights included a presentation and discussion featuring the English Learner Program for the intermediate district. The preliminary 2022 and 2023 operating budget was approved. Revenue is projected to be $76,321,969, and expenses were projected at $76,878,215. And a review of the annual JPA was done. A survey was conducted within that from 916, which found that the district is averaging, serving their district, 916, is currently serving an average of about 3% of the students in each of the 13 districts. When you combine them all and average them out, there are about 3% of the students in each district who are represented or attending 916. And we reviewed a line graph of 916 special education enrollment with program capacity and staffing. And through the extrapolation of the line graph, it looks like they're going to be at a potentially full capacity at 916 the way it is right now by 2025 and 2026 school year, which puts some real pressure on the board as well as everybody else in 916, as well as the 13-member districts, to wonder what we're going to do with level 4 kids who may have to attend but won't have capacity in schools to do it. And last, one of the things they mentioned, which I noted, was they have, as everybody, they have some teacher shortages, not a lot, but they have BA shortages. This year alone, they had 66 open positions that they couldn't fill for the entire year. So that also holds up the students that can be accepted into their programs. And with that, that concludes 916. Moving on to buildings and grounds, I'll cover that one as well, since Member Peterson isn't here. The meeting was held in person on Thursday, May 19th. We had a very brief agenda, and one of the highlights of the meeting, well, maybe lowlights of the meeting, was that Director Martini's last meeting with the committee was that meeting. So thank you, Larry, for all the work you do on the committee. Larry presented an update on our large projects, as always, including project status and project financing. And Bill Schwartz is what stood out again to me. Bill Schwartz presented maintenance updates, including that we still continue to have a staff shortage, and it's getting more and more serious in maintenance. Current workers are getting almost to the point of burnout right now because they're being forced to do a lot of extra work because of the positions that we have open. So there are many, many positions still open. We need to find a solution as a district, one way or another, to find, hire, and retain maintenance staff. That concludes my report on buildings and grounds. Moving on, City of Forest Lake, Member Luthner.
Okay. Sure don't want to take it, Member Coe? Okay. The City of Forest Lake, many of us have probably seen on Facebook that they have announced their Arts in the Park restarting on June 7th every Tuesday, except for the 4th of July week. They have a pretty good schedule of who's going to be where, and there's always the farmer's market. The Planning Commission is mostly doing hearings on rezoning, so lots of farmland turning into mixed light use. Right now, like today, June 2nd, they're doing a community event discussing the downtown redevelopment plans that have been out for a couple months for comment. And they're very nice plans. They've taken a couple years of input and put them together, but it's also a very expensive plan. So I know that they're talking through what is what. So that's the highlights of what's happening at Forest Lake. And last month I wasn't able to report because of timing, but I went to Columbus, City of Columbus, instead of just Forest Lake, and they have a good meeting also with a group of people who really care about that town too. And I'm hoping I can hop around to some of the different member cities so it's not just Forest Lake moving forward. Since all of this is available online if anyone wants to dig into it, but just to highlight some of our other communities in our district as we move forward.
Great.
Thank you. I'd like to add just one thing to the City of Forest Lake. I had the opportunity to go online and look at the redevelopment plan. If you haven't seen it, it's a 60-page report on how they want to redevelop.
I like the things like parking structures,
Right.
personal.
It's a really outstanding, quite an outstanding presentation.
It is. I think it will bring Forest Lake up a lot in the ability to bring in people and have events. Their infrastructure is increasing a lot.
There's a lot of interest, a lot of my neighbors.
Well, parking was my number one, but the structure is on the plan.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got some great leadership.
Next, Communications Committee.
Yeah, so in the Communications Committee, we talked about videos and how, as a school district, what videos do we want to produce? What do we want to get out of them? How do we get those to the public? And talked about there's ones for students, one for adults, one for helping people figure things out, like how do you enroll a student in Forest Lake? So yeah, it was a good discussion.
Terrific. Thank you. Next, Community Education, Member Raphael.
In community ed, we talked about, there's kind of an internal grant in community ed, and we kind of decided, we took some different applications for grant money and ended up awarding all three of the different requests, and which was really nice. And also then heard an update on what was going on in community ed. So that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I got it. Curriculum Instruction and Equity Committee. Last Moore.
I was not present.
Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't there either.
Moving on. Equity in our schools.
All right. Thank you. So Equity in Our Schools report is about equity in our schools. It's kind of been trending a little bit, talking about Equity Alliance and what's been going on there. Yeah, I just wanted to give an update that, we've heard from all the districts. All the districts have voted to end Equity Alliance. And so at the meeting, we talked about, kind of matching what we're doing there with the amount of money that's left, and, how to kind of bring it peacefully to an end. And there's some issues we're having with, one of the school districts that we did a survey for, and was then going to use that survey to kind of make some recommendations. They're kind of balking at, paying for the survey. They feel like, with things closing down, that maybe the survey data isn't what they wanted. And so we're kind of working through those details. But I think it's going to come together. It's going to end in a good way. So
Finance Committee report.
Well, it's a lot of the things we've talked about already. The long-term facilities maintenance program, Matt Hammer was there from Ellers and talked about, you know, the whole program, how it works and the bonds, and kind of went through a really good detailed kind of 101 about how the bonding works and the financing and things like that. He did a great report, and thank you for coming again tonight to kind of introduce it again for Director Martini. And we did a fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23 budget update. We also have the budget on our for approval for tonight. And legislative update is always ever changing and never finished, is what I think. That's what we got out of what our update was. Hopeful, but not sure. So that concludes our report.
Policy Committee, Member Kettle, thank you, Chairman Kettle. The Policy Committee was canceled due to a lack of policies that were required to be reviewed at this time. Staff Welfare Committee.
Yeah, so staff welfare, both the superintendent and Member Corcoran were not able to attend. So Member Luthner and I just took the time to gossip about them.
I wrote down in my report, there was an agenda printed out and left on the table, to which we read through dutifully, and we ended up discussing the work sessions that we're going to have as a board in the summer. So using some of our time now that we're through COVID and we have more in-person time to work through some of the little details of school board running. And they're public, but I don't expect anyone else to come.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Those two reports on that. Okay. Superintendent's report, Dr. Massey.
Thank you. I've got a number of quick items to work my way through, some of which you guys have already touched on. First of all, the district retirement celebration we celebrated last week, as Member Kendall indicated. We acknowledged and celebrated many years of service of the 40 retirees. And I'm going to take just a moment and recognize one of those retirees on the list, Mr. Brockman, who is retiring this year along with his wife, Leanne, who's the media specialist at the high school. As you know, often well behind the scenes is Tim Brockman. When you come, technology works. When staff come to work, technology works. When they're at home and they need to access work stuff, technology works. And it works because of Tim and his team. So we are indebted to his incredible visionary leadership and steadfast work on our technology. So we're going to miss Tim, and we're in the process of restructuring to try to pull off all the many things that Tim does. This is Director Martini's last board meeting, as it was also his last committee meeting as well. So I'm going to take just a quick moment and highlight just a few of the many successes as he's leading Forsyth schools in a much better place than when he showed up in 2001. You might recall that when Larry came, we were in statutory operating debt as a district, which is a really rough spot to be in as a district. In a few short years with the past referendum, with Larry's leadership and support, we were able to get out of statutory operating debt and have been out of statutory operating debt and in a financially stable position since that day. We are far from a wealthy district. We all know that. But we are for sure a financially stable district because of Larry's leadership and his team that works diligently to make sure we're spending wisely, creatively, with the vision behind it, and a purpose and a mission, but with a lot of conservative effort to make sure that we are building fund balance and stabilizing the funding of the district. In 2015, we passed, at that time, the largest bond referendum in the state of Minnesota. Larry was instrumental. We failed twice before that. Sure. In Forsyth fashion, but with reshaping and revisioning and sharpening the saw around that, we passed at $143 million, often referenced, even here tonight, components of that successful referendum. Southwest and community education space was a direct result of that. Every building in the district was touched, improved, renovated, if not added on to through that rec fund. It has restructured this district. In 2018, after years of dramatic operating budget cuts, we passed an operating referendum that has stabilized funding and operations in this district and has rebuilt the instructional system that drives this district. Larry was instrumental in both of those efforts as our director. And then often referenced, and again referenced tonight, our stadium that was built just last summer. Larry's creative financing tools and using the resources that we have, pulled that off without raising taxes to the local community. So it's not just managing a budget, building and managing a budget, it's being creative. How do we accomplish our mission creatively with the resources that we have? Larry is a master at that. He also is a state leader, if not a national leader, in self-funded health plans. We have been a self-funded health plan provider as a district for many years. We had a 7-year run with 0 increase in staff premium. Unheard of. While other plans and other districts were seeing steady increases, we had 7 years. Larry is a statewide go-to person in self-funded health. So he leaves our district a better place. We're in good hands with Chrissy Renberg, I assure you of that. But we're going to miss Larry, and we're indebted. Larry, congratulations, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Monday evening, June 6th, we are going to celebrate 11 Hall of Fame inductees, 5 on the district side, 6 on the arts and athletic side. Board member Kettle will join Mr. Caldwell and myself on stage for the 3-hour duration, congratulating all of our seniors and inducting our Hall of Fame members. The following evening, June 7th, I would ask you to join us at Forest Hills for the reception for the Hall of Fame inductees. Along with the Hall of Fame inductees on June 6th, Monday evening at 7, are all of the senior academic awardees and their various scholarships and awards. I'm sure they will announce well over $2 million in scholarships and awards given to our seniors for the generosity of all of the colleges that these kids are going to and the local communities for our kids. I'm going to also piggyback all the accolades to our stadium and the track meets that have been happening. Yesterday was round 1 of the section track meet. Tomorrow will be round 2. If you happen to have driven by the track and the campus yesterday, you would have seen 9 different district buses from across our section. You would have seen hundreds of families, kids everywhere. The place was alive. The accolades and praise from other teams and other coaches, the fact that we're holding in year 1 a section meet is a tribute to what we built out there. There's chatter about whether or not we should be hosting the state track, which would bring thousands of people to this community, which is not just a boom for the district, but a boom for the economy of this community. I'll also mention is the board work session now scheduled for June 16th at 5 p.m. I anticipate a good 3 to 4 hour work session as we work through some important topics. And as Member Luther mentioned, Arts in the Park starts next week. We do have a booth there. We'll be there every week. I'm sharing that with our directors and principals under the foresight really go tent and interacting with the public and hopefully boosting enrollment through that process. I can take any questions as that concludes my report.
Seeing no questions? No questions? We'll move on to the consent agenda.
Approve?
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll take a roll call.
No, that's a
No,
voice
voice,
vote.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do a voice vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Next, we move on to action items. And action items, first of all, is donations, and I'll turn to Member Rayfield.
All right. So I'm just going to read through the donations to our district. We got a donation from the Dugout Club of $6,984, payment for part-time assistant coaching positions for the 21-22 season. $3,000 from the Lino Lakes PTO for transportation costs for Deep Portage 5th grade trip. $907 from the Forest Lake Girls Lacrosse Boosters, payment on coach bus trips for the 21-22 season. $758 from the Forest View Elementary PTA for the 2nd grade field trips to Tamarack and Gibbs Farms. $650 from Music Connection for the Forest Lake Area Schools Community Ed Marching Band, Arts in the Park Performance and Poster. $650 from Jessica Wiley and Smile Orthodontics for the Forest Lake Area Schools Community Ed Marching Band. $500 from Tom Carney and Carney Insurance for the Forest Lake Community Ed Marching Band. $500 from Jesse R. Johnson Insurance Agency for the 2022 Hall of Fame program support. $398 from the Forest Lake Lions Club for Forest Lake Area Schools Community Ed Marching Band student scholarships. $377 from the Forest Lake Girls Track Boosters, payment towards the coach bus trip to Rochester. $374 from the Forest View Elementary PTA for the 3rd grade field trip to the Children's Theater. $310 from the Scandia Marine Lions for the Kindness Rock activity materials. $263 from the Forest Lake Boys Track Booster, payment towards the coach bus trip to Rochester. $250 from Pauline and Jeff Beckman as an Amazon gift card to Sarah Cooper's classroom at Columbus Elementary. $150 from Tefla for the 2022 Hall of Fame program support. $150 from the Cedar East Bethel Lions Club for Linwood Elementary general use. $100 from the Twin City Transportation Forest Lake School Special Ed Staff Appreciation gift cards. $100 from the Hugo American Legion Post 620 for the Forest Lake FFA Chapter Student Organization account. $75 from Elam Lutheran as a food donation to the Forest View Elementary students in need. $20 from Big Apple Bagel for the ECFE Baby Resource Fair. And $20 from the Target Corporation Cyber Grant for the Lino Lakes Elementary STEP Program general use. So that adds up to $16,537.44 worth of donations. And I want to thank all those people for that and make a motion that we approve these donations.
So moved.
Or we need a second.
Second.
Good.
We're so appreciative.
Yeah.
We have a motion, a second. We'll take a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Moving on to 8.2, agreement for school resource officer services between Independent School District 831 and the City of Forest Lake. I'll turn it to Dr. Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Today I'm asking for your approval for the subsequent contract with our SROs with the Forest Lake City for the 2022-2025 years. You'll see that this agreement is identical to the services provided currently with the Forest Lake Police Department for 3 police officers, 1 at the high school, SRO school resource officer at the high school, 1 at the middle school, 1 shared between the high school and community school as well. So 3 school resource officers. You'll see in Exhibit A a brief listing of duties and responsibilities, an extensive list of items that provide safety, security, connection, relationships, and being a resource for staff and for students. I think we can all understand the tragic need for boosting school safety to every extent possible. There are many, many measures that provide school safety and security, and our school resources are one of those critical resources. Our relationship with the Forsyth Police Department around our school resource officers is a model program, often resembled and people calling about wanting to emulate the relationship that we have with Forsyth City, with our SROs. So with that background, I would ask for your approval.
Second.
We have a move and a second. Any discussion?
When did we start the program, Dr. Macy? Do you know? Just curious, was it 10 years?
Oh, no, I was high school principal for 14 years prior to this position when we had school resource officer before that.
Wow, so it's been, okay, a long time. Well, I just think how valuable it is that we have that, and I couldn't be happier that we continue with that great relationship with the police department. I think they, I mean, especially with everything going on in the world, I just see it's an extra layer of safety that we all need at the schools.
One quick question for the superintendent. We made some changes, Dr. Wilbur, and and you stated that this mirrors that.
Right. So the last contract prior to this one, I negotiated with the police chief to, prior to that, we were paying for the full salary of these officers, even when school was not in session and they were working with the city. So we quantified and identified the days in which they weren't working in our schools, but were working on the streets and for the city. And they assumed those costs, so that reduced, I don't know the number, 60, 70 some $1,000 from the contract back to the city. And they recognized that was only a fair way to go, that they pay for what they're getting and we pay for the services. And that, of course, carries forward in this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I think this works really well in our district, right? And I think the reason it works really well is because of the individuals with the Forsyth Police Department and the care and love that they put into these jobs when they come. And I always think back to, like on Scandia Taco Days, I remember seeing one of those officers standing, working at managing traffic, and all the kids walking by and waving and saying hi, that there's just this really positive relationship that gets built up, but at the same time, they're doing a critical job, right? They're helping the schools manage when something doesn't go so right, but they're also there to provide, service and safety if things go very wrong, right? And so that they're a sense of comfort for everybody that in what they do. And so I just think it works because we're working with great people.
I just have to concur with Member Rayfield that my daughters, they just have always established that relationship with our students. And my daughters, which are rather old now, just can still talk about how those Officer Glider, whoever, they had that relationship with them, and there was somebody that said hi and, how you doing? And I just think that Rob stated it, that it's the people we work with and the quality and makes it such a rich program and relationship for us.
I'm shifting slightly because of the weeks past, and there was a big movement with lots of other school boards in the area to call for plans of what to do in case of disaster within their schools. And I could happily say with zero detail exposed that we have a plan. And I think that it is the school resource officers that help create those plans, correct? Because we've had closed sessions and we've been briefed that there are plans in place and that we know what would happen if the worst happens and we have a plan. And that was something that not every school apparently has. So this relationship is not just the day-to-day and the positive impact, which we expect. And I think excellence is normal now. Is that our new phrase? So, and we love it. So on some t-shirts, but we really see it in lots of levels, the behind the scenes work that we don't see and that can't be public, that we know that we have another layer of security. And then again, with the bond, that we already have fairly secure buildings with front entryways that are buzzed only. And when I drop something off at school, like eye contact with that, she knows me, but she double checked that she knew me before she buzzed me in. So I wish we never need any of this, but I'm glad that we have it. And I think no small part to the 3 individuals that have been with us for how many long years have they been with us?
That will vary. Mr. Coulter is at the community school. Troy Meyer is at the middle school. We'll be transitioning out and we'll be replaced with a different officer. Going through that process now, and then Officer Olson at the high school has been there for 5 years or so.
We're doing something right when people want to stay.
We thank them for their service. We have a motion and a second. We'll take a roll call vote.
Member Tyson votes aye. Member Corcoran? Aye. Member Ketto?
Aye.
Member Landstrom?
Aye.
Member Luther?
Aye.
Member Peterson is absent, and Member Rayfield.
Aye.
8.3, approve the 2022-23 budget. Director Martini.
Good evening. So I'll be asking you to approve the 22-23 budget, but as Member Corcoran mentioned, we remain hopeful that the legislature will actually finish its business. When we were anticipating outcomes at the Finance Committee, we knew that the Senate Republicans were kind of blocking some of the efforts. There already was a global agreement to spend $1 billion for E-12 education over 3 years. Dr. Massey got a text this evening that it's expected the governor is going to call Portman and Miller back together and see if there isn't some appetite for a special session. So we remain hopeful. But what's presented in front of you at $81,250,000 is simply a balanced budget without any additional funding, only the funding that was authorized by the previous legislature, not the one that failed in this session. We've got a $4 million a $4 million food service fund, $5 million community ed fund, $5 to $6 million construction fund, because we built our way into becoming a 1A district, and we're using that tool to smooth not only the tax impact, but the cash flow that Chrissy will be managing going forward. So that's really a neat thing that Ellers is providing. You add that up with $9 million of debt service, this is a $105 million operation. That's huge. And the budget you'll approve is really, it's a roadmap. The minute it's printed and approved and authorized, something will change. Hopefully the legislature will add more funds to it. But you're going to expect this roadmap to have, bumps and increases and things like that. That's why we come to you and we modify the budget 2 to 3 times a year. So we expect that'll continue to occur, probably a fall and spring adjustment. And you're going to have variances at a magnitude of $105 million. So a 1%, 2% magnitude of variance is not a big deal. But when you count up from $0 to $1 million, $0 to $2 million, it sounds like a big number. But having a 1%, 2% variance is good work. This district office doesn't resemble what corporate finance has. Corporate finance has a whole lot more payroll people, a whole lot more AP people, a whole lot more people like Chrissy, like Joe Nolan at $100 million. This is a lean operation that's effective and smooth. And I'm excited that Chrissy's taking over with this budget, but she'll have the opportunity to modify it a couple times going forward. So we ask your approval of this budget, and hopefully we'll see more funding from the legislature going forward.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Two things. Number one, I think you're spot on. Any corporation of the size of the school district would have so many more people, and I've never seen the level of performance and good work in any, I've been to a lot of corporations, I've worked at a lot of different places, and I have never seen the level of, again, excellence that I have seen with our people. And I've always just felt so much pride at the work we've done. My question is, has the level of inflation kind of caught us by surprise, and how is that kind of affecting this budget?
So our purchase services are going to be impacted a little bit. Our supply budget is going to be impacted the most, and yet that's the area we spend the least money on. Best answer I have for you, because I think it's been a surprise to all of us.
Well, I was going to ask what Member Rayfield asked. So inflation, we know that things are just costing more, but we can't really predict how that'll affect us down the road.
Well, within our budget, we'll have to then buy less, unfortunately.
Right.
But it is the smallest part. Our supply budget is the smallest part of our budget. Your budget really is people. It's over 80% people.
Good to know. Well, and for what it's worth, I continue my advocacy. I'm still emailing Portman and the governor and Housley and Chamberlain, just to really, we need that special session, and we need to get more funding for education lined up. So I don't know if it helps, but do you think they're going to be calling that?
We know that they'll meet again for global agreements. We know that we could use additional special ed funding.
Right.
Our shortfall is over $5 million. We always talk about some of the pieces that we're lobbying for, the transportation, $500,000. But if even the Senate offer of simply doing some letters training and then the rest of the money going to fund the cross subsidy for special education, that would be great. That would be substantial for us.
That would be a huge help. Well, thank you.
Yeah, like being an accountant, I understand budgeting, and yeah, I've seen over the years since I've worked with you, Larry, I mean, I know that it takes a lot of people to make these budgets and all the things you have to think about and the different ways to think about them, and it's been really impressive, the level of accuracy that I've seen over the years, and just to know that, I mean, it's been comforting to know that you're at the helm of all these years. You've been doing such a great job, you and your team, and you'll be missed. And it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, so yeah, I mean, this budget is a large number, and I know Chrissy will do a great job. I'll look forward to working with her, and I think, yeah, I mean, it's just. Changes they're hard, and it's a lot of emotion, so, but, yeah, best wishes, and I know you're gonna have a great time in Arizona. And I guess I'll talk to you later about your house sale. Well, I'll hear about that.
I really was wondering when we could do this, but Larry, I just want to thank you. I've learned so much from you over the years, and when I first came on the board, my questions were like all over the map, and you were just so patient, and you really, answered them with clarity, and I was finally getting it through my noggin. So I appreciate you tremendously, and like Member Corcoran said, it's really going to be weird without you here. That comfort zone is going to be gone, and we know that we have Chrissy, and we'll build that up and get that relationship, but it's going to be like very different. So we appreciate all your hard work and fun talking dogs with you here and there, and
thank you.
Look forward to running into you somewhere.
Comments, questions, anything else? Thank you, Larry, for all your service. With that, we will take a vote.
All right, Member Rayfield.
Aye.
Member Tyson votes aye. Member Corcoran.
Aye.
Member Kiddo.
Aye.
Member Landstrom.
Aye.
Member Luthner. Aye. And Member Peterson's absent.
Next, we will review 8.4, Policy 514, which is a search of student lockers, desks, personal possessions and student's person. Dr. Massey.
Thank you. This policy, along with the other ones up for your approval tonight, have been reviewed by the policy committee. First reading last month, and tonight seeking your approval for the changes you see in this policy. Updated language on page 2 of the policy on searching of actual search of person, added language there, some clarity around that. Clarity around parent notification in the event of a search of a student locker or their personal belongings. And updated language on notification and dissemination of this policy. With those changes, administration recommends approval.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any questions, comments?
So I just have a question for the superintendent. Was the new paragraph, I read that at home, that was added, was that part of the MSBA's model policy then?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I would just make the comment that, when I've been on the policy committee, I know I've worked on this and we've worked on it 3 years. It's really a critical policy because if you don't get it right, it can really be bad for a school district. So I really appreciate the thought that's gone into this.
It's important to also note that much of the language directing searches is driven by Minnesota statute, federal law. Those are referenced in the policy.
Yeah.
Anything else? Seeing nothing else, we'll take a vote.
Member Peterson's absent. Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Tyson votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Kettle?
Aye.
Member Landstrom?
Aye.
And Member Luzner?
Aye.
Moving on, we go to 8.5, policy 546 on wellness. Dr. Massey.
Thank you. Seeking your approval tonight on some language changes. In this policy, you will see on page 5, really some clarification or updated language, and then the deletion of item 3 under section D, language related to fundraising. That language is stricken from the policy. With that, administration recommends approval.
We have a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none.
All right. Member Luzner?
Aye.
Member Peterson's absent. Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Tyson votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Kettle?
Aye.
And Member Landstrom?
Aye.
8.6, award school bus camera system bid. Director Martini.
Thank you. So I was grinning ear to ear during approval of the SRO contract because the importance of that extra layer of security and the outstanding partnership we have. Well, what an amazing collaboration. Through the efforts of School Resource Officer Tom Coulter, we received one of the highest grants in the state. And the Minnesota Department of Public Safety solicited him because his outstanding performance and transparency on previous work he's done on grants with them. So we went out for bid. We opened those bids up April 20th, and we spent about a month and a half of review. Chrissy and I just sat down with John Gray and Tom Coulter last week to get to the particulars, but we want to award this to 247 Security, Inc. They're out of Georgia. They were the low bid in the amount of $285,061. The next lowest bid was actually within less than $200 of that. So we know it was highly competitive. We seek your approval to award this to 247, and this will allow us to not only put stop camera systems in, but once the framework and infrastructure is in for that, we'll also have access to internal footage of what goes on in the school bus.
We hear a motion.
Move to approve 8.6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
So since we don't own all the buses, can we take this with us if we don't want that bus in the future?
Yes, this will be our equipment. We've already discussed installation and removal.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Do you kind of feel like we should have a policy regarding some of the usage of the, that's probably something, what's the time frame of this? And I'm wondering if maybe as a board, we might want to think about having a policy that, for this camera use that maybe lines up with the installation.
Yeah, so we asked John to ask several vendors for sample school district policies.
Yeah.
It'll probably be the nature of 2 or 3 school board policies that you'll ultimately adopt.
Right.
When we sift through some of that yet this summer, we'll get them to Director Friedman and allow her to fast track some stuff with you, possibly through work sessions, some other means. But you're absolutely right. It is imperative that some of these operational aspects of student privacy, of access, those are all policy questions that need board approval.
And then so this is going to be then probably like some sort of a DVR and then a camera that's looking at the stop. So the footage that we're going to be getting initially will be of the cars passing by the bus when the stop arm is engaged. Is that right? Or is there additional footage that's being acquired through the equipment in this bid, even though I know that in the future we can have other cameras?
So well stated, we intend to put all cameras in place at once.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So just a quick question, Larry. What about maintenance? Do our maintenance staff take care when they break, or do we send them in, or are we?
So a lot of these systems have been road tested for quite some time. And we'll have stuff on the shelf for easy swap out and then warranty. And if things go beyond warranty, what's interesting with these DVRs, they're 10-year warranties, because people want to know, do you have that ability to go down a washboard road and still write? And so they actually use the combination of the electronic solid state, and then when the bus is not moving, to write to typical media you expect. When they come near the bus barn, they offload it to our network, to servers that we have. So interesting stuff.
I was just gonna say, it's amazing that we can get this money and that we can use that, and then that can also springboard to get the save costs on the rest of the cameras, right?
Our second lowest bidder was actually used North St. Paul as a reference. I think 247 is using Bemidji as a reference. We lobbied together with Bemidji about revenue shortfalls. So this isn't an early thing for us. We're late to the game, but it's exciting that we're in the game.
What's the install timeline look like?
Sometime end of August, and it would probably be a couple of weeks. That could change. We haven't heard supply chain issues with any of this stuff. We hear it's on the shelf, ready to go for our award, but things happen.
I just have one more question. So we're going to need additional infrastructure for, I'm guessing, I mean, really, because you're looking at probably, quite a bit of space usage. Is that covered under the bid, or is that something that we expect to kind of absorb into our current system?
So we'll absorb it, but not into our current system. We'll put some servers in place at the bus garage that are not on our existing system, so that the traffic isn't immense.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, this is great. I should have said that too.
Any other questions, comments? Member Tyson, would you take a
Yes, sir. Member Landstrom.
Aye.
Member Luther.
Aye.
Member Peterson is absent. Member Rayfield.
Aye.
Member Tyson votes aye. Member Corcoran.
Aye.
And Member Kettle.
Aye. Moving on to 8.7. Talk about for this one, resolution relating to $5,070,000 general obligation capital notes and facilities maintenance bonds series 2022A, stating official intent to proceed with and authorizing the issuance and sale thereof, and providing for credit enhancement with respect thereto. Member Director Martini.
Well, so as Matt mentioned to you, they'll be back in August. This allows them to go get competitive bids. Bring them back to you in August. They'll close that deal at the end of August. So this is setting the sale for that. And in that paper copies that he provided this evening for you are estimates of what that all will cost and come out as, unless the markets go crazy. You can always reject stuff and reissue as well. So this is setting in motion that potential sale. Ask to have a roll call to approve it.
I have a motion.
So
We have a
moved.
motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, Director Martini, so when we're doing this kind of thing, is it making our financial position more complex and harder to understand, or is it simplifying it overall? Which do you hold?
So on a pay-as-you-go basis, when we were working with the CLC, we were hoping that the work got done and the invoices got submitted so they hit us in the right fiscal year. Not too much this year, not too little next year. Issuing bonds like this smooths out that process, and now we don't care when the work gets done.
Right.
Because it helps us manage that cash flow. In addition to that, because Matt or Shelby McQuay at Ellers or Jody Zesbot at Ellers will work with us on that project to make it a 9-year, 10-year, 11-year, 12-year schedule to smooth out the taxes. So this is not only cash flow smoothing and tax smoothing. It is more complex, but she gets it, and people in our department get it. Ellers has actually worked with Jill Nolan, who's the controller. So they're doing this with 20 of the 26 or 27 districts. So feel confident that we can smooth things out with this whole process.
Sounds like a win-win-win.
It is.
Anything else? We have a motion and a second. Once again, Member Tyson, would you take the floor?
Member Kettle.
Aye.
Member Landstrom.
Aye.
Member Luther.
Aye.
Member Peterson is absent. Member Rayfield.
Aye.
Member Tyson votes aye. And Member Corcoran.
Aye.
Good. 8.8, resolution relating to the financing of a proposed project to be undertaken by the school district establishing compliance with reimbursement bond regulations under the Internal Revenue Code. Director Martini.
So this is simply allowing us to maximize the capabilities of our financing within the IRS code. When we hired Dorsey Whitney as bond counsel, they're only going to use big words, but this really is maximizing our flexibility to take all the costs that might have already been paid for the ice arena, design costs, things like that, or other LTFM costs that occur within the 60 days, and capture those within this process. So this maximizes our use of the IRS code.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments for Director Martini? Member Tyson.
Member Corcoran.
Aye.
Member Kettle.
Aye.
Member Landstrom.
Aye.
Member Luther.
Aye.
Member Peterson is absent. Member Rayfield.
Aye.
And Member Tyson.
Thank you again, Director Martini. New business, we have none on the agenda right now. Review upcoming calendar dates. I think Dr. Massey went over a number of them, so I won't do that again, but they're available if you need those. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing no opposition, the meeting is now closed.